So there is some very strong viewpoints behind the name. The river symbolize, if you look at any cultures during the history, big cultures has almost always been next to a river. So a river indicates a flow of inspiration, resources, trading, water, so you can grow whatever you need to live off. So it is a mental river. It doesn't, Global River Centers doesn't need to be next to a physical river. So that is explanation for parts of our name. Global is meant to indicate that we want to be sure that people using the Global River Centers, they should feel that they are part of our global world. If you are born in an urban area somewhere in Africa, you shouldn't feel isolated. The Global River Center will be your kind of gateway to the rest of the world.
So we have a challenge ahead of us that we as Europeans and our friends in Africa that we already work so closely with would like to do something about. And talking about our friends in Africa, I'm talking about the chief system that we are working with. We are not working with the political system. This is the numbers that I try to draw up for Ghana, where we start, where we at least have 2 million young people out of income or jobs. So our part of that solution is to build 200 of these state-of-the-art sustainable activity centers across sub-Saharan Africa. As I mentioned, using the revenue from lease and event hosting to actually provide the space. Well, the space is where we generate the income, but that income to again reinvest in building more centers. That was what I wanted to say. And the centers is hosting the right partners, and I come back to who are the right partners in trade, learning, for income generating, entertainment and community service, and then the local engagement. And we very much believe in such a thing like a community service or making a new local media, a new newsletter or a small magazine, hosted of course, and again also edited by our youth in these communities, would actually help not only re-engage, revitalize, adding to new activities that were not there before, but that engagement and commitment to your community should hopefully also inspire to actually acquire new skills that you can hopefully get into an income position with as we go along. So we are not just thinking that we can place such a center and then whoopty, we have 100 jobs created. We will create at least 100 jobs for each center just by our launch of it. But it is our ambition, of course, to create much more basis for income for many, many more young people. And that is by closing gaps, having a thorough understanding of that area, the resources there, what's needs, and what are the gaps that we can fill, and how can we use our network, even the global network we are building now, but also initially our business network to link up and come with solutions and actually fill these gaps, and how can we engage the young people to the utmost ability in that process.
And what I really like is here that the architecture, the impact that the architecture can really do can change the behavior of people. There's no doubt about that. If you gather people into a beautiful architecturally designed environment with really natural materials and space and light goes into a symbiosis, then you will change slowly the behavior of the people being in there.
What is the future in Africa, and where does Africa stand? I think Africa, or from what we saw in the research we conducted, we saw that we have the secular advantage, and we can do more with circular economy. And some of the reasons are what I've stated here. And it is because we have a young population, and with this young population, we know that circular economy is a working economy. And it means we need a lot of people to be doing the work. And so with our huge population, we can get work for a lot of people to do. We also haven't built our infrastructure, the infrastructure that is required to meet the needs of our burden population. We haven't built all of that yet. And that's an opportunity for us to rethink the process right from material extraction to the end of life of these materials. We now have the opportunity to think about these materials, to think about the systems, to think about how we put up these systems so that we don't end up building and then now thinking about what happens to them when they are no longer in use. Because circular economy is about knowledge sharing, is about collaborating, is about learning from each other. And so we want to keep up with these practices so that we are learning from each other, we are sharing, and then we are actually building our systems the right way. What challenge does circular economy present? But I would like to quote what Alexandre Lemille said, and he is a co-founder of African Circular Economy Network. And according to him, African countries have linear barriers, which are actually advantages in the circular economy. And I totally agree with him. From our previous slide, you'd realize that we have the flexibility to now recreate and redesign our systems. So we don't have those fixed structures.
For the architecture and design, let's begin with the fact that beauty should meet sustainability and functionality. Functionality being the fact that one should always start by asking, as Deborah also talked about, the wish and the need of the community. The least circular thing is to make something that is not used. On the beauty side, it's important to make a building or infrastructure that people can tie some sort of emotional connection to. One can be creative and almost look at buildings as an art piece. If we want to bring it to the, and this is the extreme, you can look at the UNESCO sites as an example. Beauty makes people want to keep the building alive for generations to come and to enjoy the human extension of culture and history into the building. This is a perfect example of slowing the loop.
And one thing that we find especially relevant to touch upon now in the context of the Global River Center is this flexible housing. But what is flexible housing actually? Flexible housing means that rooms and buildings, they should be flexible and changeable to meet different needs that may occur now in the present, but also other ones that may occur in the future. And the principle behind flexible housing is this incomplete building, where a basic frame will open up for personalized interpretation in terms of number of rooms, the functionality of these rooms, and positioning of rooms, and so on. And if we move on, here's an example of flexible walls. Here, you can see these are different rooms that you can turn into different functionalities and positioning of rooms. So for example, if you are gonna have a big wedding, social gathering, you can completely remove these walls and have one big open space. Or you can turn it into many small rooms for private offices, workspace, whatever you need.
We need to change our thinking in terms of how we look at the impacts and outcomes of waste as a resource, instead of recycling as a verb or an action. And that's where we need to look at changing the narrative. So how do we look at using waste as a resource where we can deliver social upliftment, where we can look at skills development, economic development? How does it impact and influence energy, water, wastewater, infrastructure, housing, manufacturing, food security, and specifically addressing issues around climate change adaptation and mitigation? So from my perspective, developing a waste economy allows us to achieve all of the SDGs. I think my last slide will show that there's about 15 of the 17 SDGs we can achieve through the waste economy. So we want to look at different materials and applications that are going to make sense But again, also to try and develop something where one can look at local skills and local skills development, where you're not just building the center, but then you possibly have the opportunity of being able to then continue with that technology, whether it's compressed earth or the concrete or the cladded type system, that now becomes a business with the local enterprises, that they are now able to continue building homes and houses and other centers around that. So extending the skills development and looking at it from an enterprise development perspective. And there's a lot of benefits behind that. Again, what we don't want to do is we don't want a repeat of any sort of Eurocentric application where we are using European money to throw in a big infrastructure into the middle of Africa and hoping it's going to work. We've got to look at incorporation of the local communities, get them to create some sense of ownership and belonging to the thing. And that helps in terms of long-term sustainability as well. And then part of also what we see for the river centers is about self-sufficiency. So how do we look at making sure that we incorporate the communities, that the communities become the suppliers into that center? And there are beautiful, beautiful systems like the Mgibe system in South Africa, which is literally a raised bed gardening system. One can create 10 times the density of vegetables with about 10% of the soil requirements and 5% of the water requirements. And we can teach people in the communities to grow vegetables at home. And the importance of food nutrition is about health, it's about education, but it's also about self-sufficiency. So really it's about evolution. It's about evolving from a linear economy. We're in about a chain economy at this stage, but then really getting that into a circular economy. And using, creating that evolution, using waste into resources is an ideal opportunity, and Africa is the best place to be for that.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I must say, I'm honored to be part of the conversation that is going on and the step towards helping the youth realize their dreams in various ways. So I would like to motivate each and everybody here, and of course, all the young children across Africa, to let you know that the people out there who are interested in your well-being and interested in elevating your status and helping you realize your dreams. So yes, just a word of encouragement from DJ Black here in Ghana.